Quick greetings. This is a quick follow-up for our last video because we were reading about John Punch. And as you might recall, if you watched the video, I was getting confused with another timeline that I looked at, which talked a little bit more about John Punch. And so I'm going to share my screen and we're going to go to the Jim Crow museum website. This is what I was confusing with the Wikipedia entry. So this is gonna really be a quick video, I hope, because because it's just really to uh, to clear up the confusion. So here is the Jim Crow Museum, and here's a timeline. And he starts off with, it starts at the same time, 1619. 20 and odd Africans, probably seized from a Portuguese enslavement ship, were carried to Jamestown, Virginia, and traded for provisions. They were classified as indentured servants. 1640, July 9th. When three runaway indentured servants were captured, the General Court of Colonial Virginia gave the white servants additional years to serve, while John Punch, a black man, was sentenced to servitude for life. Punch was the first African in Virginia to be enslaved for life. Remember when I was reading the Wikipedia entry and you probably said, see, that's why you don't look at Wikipedia, big dummy. You thought you read something, they done changed it on you. No. It was that I was confusing it with this. This is what gave us more. It tells us more. It says that there were three indentures, and two of them were Caucasian, and one of them were black. And the Colonial Virginia Court, the General Court. Now, again, in the last video, we went into a whole rampage because we're trying to get American Indians to understand that you keep taking credit for this system, but we're reading that your court, see, this would be your court in Virginia, where you made a black man a slave for life. So Indians, like I was saying before, be careful. You be careful. Stop saying you created the system that is busting up your ass, please. It doesn't look good for the world. It doesn't look good for reparations. Just stop it. I'm asking you. I am asking you. Because then the next thing is, well, we created the courts, but then we got taken over. That is the line of Moors. Moors are the ones that always somehow, at the worst time, they choose to be weak and defeated. At the most convenient time, actually. And we starting to sound like Moors the more we listen to them. Oh yeah, we built the system, but then it was taken over by white people. Is that the universal cry of every man of color, Indian? Is that you going to use that same BS? Everything was taken over by white men, where they are always the minority. How you gonna how you got taken over? Do you mean that they got help from their daddy more? Is that what you mean? Because that would make more sense. There were far more of us than there were these European settlers. They did not take us over, y'all. This is their system. This legal system is their system. The words are defined by British legal dictionaries, not American ones. And they didn't define these terms until the 1800s. Now, the damn Constitution was created in the 1700s, and here comes Britain with a legal dictionary to redefine words or define them. Who is left in charge? How many? What are Indians saying? Are you saying that you're not competent enough to keep your own system in check if this is your system? Or does it make more sense to admit this legal system is not our system? It appears in the middle of colonization. We have to go before colonization to make some claims. Because you can't tell me in the middle of your subjugation that you were allowed to create anything. You were seen as heathen. Heathens didn't have a say. They did not have any power to create anything. You were heathen. And in as much as they name you, it's only because they need to somehow show that you co-signed on this. That is all. And it was probably done under duress, just like the treaties were done under duress. The treaties didn't give Indians anything, anything. They were fake. They were not legitimate. That's how much power you had, Indian. You couldn't even sign a damn treaty. Come on, you build a system? Are you kidding? You couldn't even sign a treaty because you were seen as heathen. Heathens didn't get to partake in anything. They were taken over. That's what the doctrine of discovery was about. You don't have any legal say. You're not fit. You're heathen. You're dirty. Demons. Demon possessed. Ain't nobody gonna make no contract with a fucking demon. I'm sorry, pardon my language. It's just very upsetting. I can't have every Indian talking some nonsense. That's all. I just gotta say it how I feel it, yo. And I am gonna say it like I feel it. Yes. Yes. Um, so once again, 1640, July 9th. This is the rest of the story about John Punch. They say he was the first. And even in the last one where we read, uh, I kind of got a little carried away because the timeline they did show that John Punch was the first. It's just that we went further down and they were talking about some other dude that was made a permanent slave, but John Punch was before him, so he still was the first. Uh, and I'm gonna say one more time, I'm gonna try to shut up. Why would Indians allow the white ones to just get more time as indentures and make the black one a permanent slave in your Virginia court, American Indians? It was not your court. It is the Moors telling you that. They're clouding up your mind so you can say things that make us look really, really not quite like we know what the hell we're talking about. Because it's a conflict of interest. It's one of those things that if we were in their legal system, which we're not supposed to be, the lawyer would have to tell us, please don't talk. Do not say anything. You're going to incriminate yourself. Just let me do the talking. That's what's going to have to happen to Indians because they're saying a lot. They're saying a lot because they're confusing themselves with Moors. That's why they keep talking like this. We built this system. No, you didn't. The Moors did. And we read them telling us that they did. Just let it go. Is there anything in this system that you find did anything for you that you would want to keep it? Is it something that you see worth fighting for in this system that is a foreign system of commerce? So then why is it so important to keep saying we built this system? How? Talking about you're talking about the Iroquois Confederacy. And the Iroquois Confederacy did not build the system really. Okay. They just, again, colonizer needs to blame this on somebody to get himself off the hook. So he'll say that, oh, this Indian said it was okay. Yeah, while you basically in bed with him, yeah, offering him whatever you're offering him, yeah, he's gonna go with you. And especially if you're helping him to take down the largest group of Indians on the land, the Algonquins. Oh yeah, y'all got a real good thing going. But unfortunately, that is not all Indians that are not creating, co-signing on this system of government. We didn't have any power to sign anything. We were the heathens. Remember? And the only ones who were made like some kind of puppet were the civilized Indians. They were the only ones that could do anything. But even what they did was limited because they were, quote unquote, civilized. They're doing what Negropeans would do. Okay, so that's how that went. We're gonna take a we're gonna maybe we should stop here because if I keep going, there's more of a timeline here, and we did want to maybe uh get into this because um it's just there's things here that this indenture thing, that's the main thing. Now, so now we have two sources, the book that we looked at that was referenced to in the Wikipedia entry, something Almanac of the Civil War, something like that. So that's one source that's telling us that these were indentures, and now we have the Jim Crow Museum telling us that the Africans that came here were not to be permanent slaves; they were indentures. But I want to assert here, and then I'll shut up. I want to say that the true indentures must have been the Indians who lost some war that allowed the Indians that were on the side of Britain to make them indentures. When we talk about like, I talk among uh, some constituents, and the narrative that we're discussing is this idea of owing. Uh, Whoever loses in the war is seen as owing. So if conceivably, if the South lost some war and the owners of the South land, the Southern land, the Indians of the South, had to become indentures because they were seen as owing because they lost the war. Apparently it was, that is what it's looking like. It's looking like the South was a bunch of Indians who lost some war and they were made indentures, but this system was smart enough to roll in some Africans because all they needed was a couple like 20 Africans, right? Because they can't let the world know that these are Indians and this is their land. So they, like Moors do, they're going to muddy up the water and introduce some Africans for more chaos. They have to cause chaos so they can start lying and saying that we were all Africans. No. It no. Mm-mm. Ain't that many no. 20 something odd Africans does not African and Indian make. So that they were just introduced to lie. And it's so interesting that they only need a few to tell a big lie. So what really is happening is the South is being uh I somehow they were made indentures on their own land, and the civilized tribes were in charge of that. The system put the civilized tribes because the civilized tribes are going to take the land of the real Indians of the South, the Algonquins. Now, again, we were all Algonquin speaking at some point. There were no Iroquois, there were no Muskogee, there were no Siouan, there were no Timucuan. The first language, as I will always keep saying, was Algonquin in the eastern woodland areas, as well as over the Mississippi going westward. So, what am I saying? There were Algonquins on the east side of the Mississippi as well as the west side of the Mississippi. It was a very large group of Indians. There's no way the Iroquois could defeat all of them without the help of colonizer. And so it's looking like even before the Civil War, some war took place to make all these damn indentures. Because, I mean, they're saying that uh, it. See, the thing with the nobilities, they finance both sides of a war, so they don't lose. Like, I think what we hear is that Britain lost so much with the war, blah blah blah, blah. I don't know, because when you finance both sides, don't you I, do you lose? Because you're gonna win either way, no matter who wins, right? So I don't know that it was Britain that had these debts, and somehow the debts became the debts of the of I don't know. It seems to me it makes more sense that the Indians that lost some war had to become indentures on their land to work off some debt for losing the war. In a war, the loser becomes the one who pays for the war. The South lost. So when we talk about working off debt, it had to be Indians, although they're trying to say foreigners was the ones that was working off debt. No, those foreigners were what? Weren't we told that they were mostly the prisoners, that they were either going to go to prison or they were going to go to America and be a colonist? So isn't that one of the narratives? So what did they owe? They didn't owe nobody. These King James wanted these folks here, and they were hungry. That's all they were. They were hungry. These people came here and they didn't know where to get food. They was a new land, so but they figure, hey, I'm not in jail. You know, so no, the debt owed is from some war, imagined war. And I think that is a European thing that says the loser has to pay for the war. I don't know. It just seems European to me. I don't know why. I don't know. But that was the model used for the South. The South, it's looking to me like the Indians of the South were dragged into this system kicking and screaming. And I say that because what we're looking at here, this is before the Civil War. And we're talking about indentures, Why are indentures needed? Who who do they owe? And then it's Indians' land that's up for grabs. So what is the bargaining chip is the land of the South. So that is what the focus is. That's what colonizer wants. He does not want anything else in America but that land and maybe a bunch of slaves, citizens to work on it. So I think the fight being on American soil, any fight, it was the land that ultimately is the prize. That's why you're here. Indians don't owe anybody anything, as I said. So it's not like we owed anybody until colonizers showed up and somehow Somehow from that, now it's looked at we owe somebody. No, 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 we don't. Remember, we're a dead entity, right? Do dead men have debts? That's the other ratchet part of the system. Even if they kill you civilly, they still expect you to pay. Ain't that something? Convoluted commercial system. Anyway, I think we might leave it here. This is really all we want to show, John Punch, and the fact that he was the first black man, according to the Jim Crow Museum, to be made a permanent slave. So all that malarkey about African slaves is some BS. That's why this whole thing is so convoluted. We got so many narratives because something is being hidden. And what's being hidden is that this land is being taken from American Indians, not Africans. They are the indentures on their own land because they lost apparently a war with other Indians that were being held by colonizer, and that's how, and colonizer made sure that the Indians of the South lost so that land could be up for grabs. That's how I see it. But we'll try to look further. That's the thing that makes sense to me. If we're going to talk about somebody owing, no. If colonizer wanted, I'll put you this way. If there was some kind of debt, some floating debt that's working off some debt, colonizer would go to that land to make sure that that land is what is up for grabs. So I guess I just want to say it's not some debt that's owed, it's the land that's the target. So, yeah, it's just a way of saying wherever the drama is taking place, that is the land that they're looking to steal. It is not like they came here and some other debts were owed somewhere else. But we did read about one of these European kings giving uh, was his name John Penn or William Penn, giving him land in Pennsylvania because he promised his father something that he didn't give William Penn's father. So he, now that he's taking American Indians' land as his own, now he could use our land to pay some debts that some he owed somebody else using our land to do it. Just some convoluted, crazy shit. But I think we're gonna stop our share now. I believe we're gonna close out here. Just wanted to follow up on John Punch, and talk a little bit about who owed who and what where did the debt come from? Comes from losing a war. That's how the Moors do it, I guess. So they assume that you owe something because you lost the war and you got to pay for all of it, whatever, and then you become an indenture. Is that's what I'm seeing here? But share your thoughts. You know, uh, if I'm missing something. Thank you for watching. Till next time, be and stay highly favored.